Ephesians 5 verse 1 and 2, according to the King James Version. Be ye therefore followers of God as dear children, and walk in love, as Christ also has loved us, and has given himself for us, an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling savor. One of the greatest things that the Apostle Paul does is, and what he's so skillful at, is applying what Christ has done, the finished work of Jesus, to our lives. And from that perspective, he's giving advice. And what he's saying here is that we should be followers of Christ, or imitators of Christ, as dear children. And I think that is a key phrase and a key thought in the life of the apostle and also in the early church. The concept in Christianity was not the concept of imitating just as mimicking someone or copying someone. That is not what he's saying. He is saying, copy someone as a dear child. Copy God as a dear child. And what he's saying basically is that Jesus was and is the Son of God. And since he's born of God, the attributes of God shows in his life. And he was then basically imitating the Father. When Jesus said that many times, he said, I only do what I see my Father do. And the way he communicates that and the way Paul shares that with us is from the platform of birth, where we are born from Jesus. In other words, what he's saying is, have a brand new life. Have a life that looks like the life of Jesus by birth, by having it born into you. And then he says here in verse 2, and walk in love. So what he's saying here is, this life will be a love walk as Christ has loved us and given himself for us, an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet smelling savor. So here he says that walk in love as Christ, or since Christ, we can also use the word since there, since Christ also has loved us and given himself for us as an offering and a sweet smelling savor in the nostrils of God, in that he through his sacrifice made it possible that we can actually walk in love. We need to understand that we are not going to get away from the very life of God in the gospel. The gospel message and what Paul was preaching included the good works. It included a good manifestation, a good action. Now, we can look at the passage in verse 2 there, and we can read it and say, well, Christ sacrificed himself, so we need to make certain sacrifices like he had in loving one another. We can read it like that, but I don't believe that would be an accurate explanation of everything Paul said in chapter 1 to 4, or actually 1 to 4 verse 25. There was not, it would not be a clear, accurate foundation for the good fruit, because we know that the sacrifice Jesus made is what empowers us, and that we can be born from that revelation. Now, if we want to talk about a sacrifice that we can make, this is the sacrifice we can make. We can sacrifice the old man. We can come and say, I sacrifice the man. I let go of the old way of thinking, the old way of reasoning in the parameters of our weakness, reasoning inside the parameters of the strength of our willpower, and so find life by our works, wherein we completely look away from the old man to the depth and the core of seeing that old man crucified and dead. And let us then make that sacrifice. And in the case of Jewish believers in Ephesus, it would be where he would say, well, let go of the old man. Let go of the identity through ethnicity or idol worship or any of those kind of things, and only look at Jesus Christ. That would be, I believe, the most or the best sacrifice we can really make. Because if we're willing to sacrifice the old system, and we can say, I am not going to walk by that, since I see the resurrected Christ as the only truth about me, that would be sweet smelling to God. And that is the way we walk in love. I would just like to read from the Resurrection Bible, verse 1 and 2 in Ephesians 5. It says, I would like you to be imitators of Christ, but not from an outsider perspective, but from birth. All the commands I'm about to give you should be expressed from the birth of beholding the glory of God in the face of the man, Jesus. Fully associate yourself with the truth you behold in the man, Jesus Christ, seated at the right hand of God. Verse 2, Christ gave His life in His love for us, and that is what I would like to see manifest in you. I want you to walk in love towards others, where you freely and lovingly give of yourselves. Since the love of God is contagious, the only way you will get to that point is by beholding His love towards you as well as all people. Have an open heart to see it manifest in you also. You see, the love of God is a powerful force and a powerful source. And what Paul comes and does is he's drawing these people to a place where he says, let us now make use of this truth. Let us now walk in love. How will we walk in love? Since we are under a love that is contagious, let us be infected by this love. Let us sacrifice the older way. Let us accept the new and who we really are and say, well, that is really who I am. And from there, we will walk in love.